This is Charles Clinton. I am currently a PGY2 in internal medicine in Savannah, Georgia, and I already went through residency experience in Costa Rica, about 5 years of residency experience, so I am already sort of a master in residency experience. I am completing my 7th year of residency in 2 different continents, so I believe that it is my moral obligation to share with you guys any good information I might have which will make your road easier as a medical student or resident. So I'm going to talk about right now night shift. So in Latin America and many other countries, as opposed to the United States, there usually isn't this month-long night rotation, night float, because the call days that we have out of the US are usually pretty long, so they cover the night as well, which you might be every 3 days, every 4 days, you might have a call day. Call day out of the United States basically means keep on working till the next 7 a.m. and after that you usually work for the day and then you're back home. So of course, if that happens, there is no need for night shift for residency because someone will be covering the night every 3rd or 4th day. So that's how you get all nights covered. I don't think that is the best thing to do, and evidence has already shown that that isn't a good idea because a whole lot of persons have lost their life, lost their loved ones, or become permanently disabled because it is inhumane for you to work so many hours in a row. And a whole lot of people have lost their lives in accidents. And when I was in Costa Rica, actually, I had to undergo these long shifts. And when I was an intern in Costa Rica, I actually fell asleep while I was driving and I almost lost my life. So that's a story for maybe another video. But in summary, I really appreciate us not having to work here in the United States more than 12 consecutive hours in a row. And that is why we have the night shift. So a night shift is basically going to happen here and there for an entire month. And this is one of my first times doing an entire month of night shift. So of course it is its own beast because you are also altering your circadian rhythm. Instead of every 3 to 4 days, you're doing it for a whole month. In the end, I believe it's way better than what I just spoke about, what we do in Latin America. But it is also shown that a night shift it's unnatural, so it will alter all your circadian rhythm. It increases the risk for cardiovascular outcomes, increases mortality risk, increases stress, burnout, etc. So, of course, we'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but what I want you to know is that if we have to go through this, we might as well enjoy it and make the best out of it, and I'm going to give you some resources that might help you with your future shifts. So, it is, well, when I started recording this, it was I did this presentation at 3:30 a.m. I had it ready at 4:15 a.m. It's been a couple days since I finished the night shift rotation. You can see that I'm still a little tired, but I couldn't sleep anymore after 3 a.m. So I prefer to do this presentation because if not, it's not gonna get done. So, okay, I hope you like it, and let's talk about a couple things. I'm going to present this real quick because I just recorded it and it was 55 minutes long. Way too much. Not even I would listen to myself 55 minutes in a single sitting. So this one's gonna be way shorter, and that's the good thing is that the initial video, 55 minutes long, I didn't click on the microphone, so it didn't record any sound. So I'm re-recording this, but this time I'm going fast. Okay, so the season is won during the pre-season. So what this means is you have to put in the reps. Put in the reps during daytime, put in the reps while you're being taken by the hand by your attendants during the day, because when you get to night shift, the attendant will probably be home or sleeping, or if it's a surgical residency, they might be in the hospital, but they might be doing other things or trying to rest. So put in all the reps you can during pre-season, because night shift is when you will have the most leeway and you will be the leader in most cases you encounter during the night. This is your time to shine, so at least try. And first of all, before you get into night shift, you're going to have to prepare. So step number 1 is prepare wisely. You will know at least 1 month in advance that you will be doing the night shift. So what I recommend you doing is let family and friends know that you will be undergoing the night shift. This will help them understand what you will be going through, and this will help them also understand that they shouldn't be calling you to your phone at 2 p.m. when you're actually trying to sleep. So that's going to be important to take into account. Also, I would recommend you to oversleep instead of powering through while you're making the transition into nights, or actually transitioning from nights to days. So what I mean by that is most people in my residency program, what they do is they try to power through it. So if they start their night shift on a Monday at 7 p.m., what they will try doing is actually waking up on the Monday at whatever time they usually wake up and powering through the whole night. I don't recommend that. What I would recommend you doing is you won't be working Monday morning because you have the night shift at 6:45 p.m. or 7 p.m. So sleep throughout the day, take it easy. It's better to oversleep, and you'll have a good mental clearness while you're through the night. Of course, you will be sleepy around 2 a.m., but it's better to oversleep than do the opposite. When you're transitioning back to days, do the exact same thing, and you'll see that it's going to be way easier and way quicker. So right now, since I'm transitioning back to days, I've overslept, so I don't feel that bad that I wasn't able to sleep more after 3 a.m. Okay, so the other thing is that remember this is temporary, so it is an obligation, and let's might as well adapt to it and enjoy it. So respect and teamwork. This is going to be vital during night shift because now you're going to be the team leader. So it's important to respect personal space. So in my case, I had one first-year resident, Dr. Phillips, a great human being resident, and it was me and him during the night. And you probably will have at least, it's not going to be you alone, you probably are going to have a co-resident and maybe students. So respect personal space. Understand that you aren't the owner of their personal space. You will be spending a whole lot of time together, and you cannot just think that because you are the upper level that you can just interrupt their personal space whenever you want, because that will make them burn out and it will make the whole team plummet. So you want to respect them. If they want to listen to music, let them do their thing. Give them their space. They want to sit over there, let them sit over there. They don't have to be following around, just going around wherever you are, just having to be listening to everything you might say, because you're just going to make them burn out. Don't do that. Just let them have their own space, and that will make it easier on you guys. So also listen to ideas and consider them. So whenever you have any issue, listen to what the first year resident or your intern or whoever you are working with has to say. I've been in all these situations that I have a plan, I have ideas, but I've had upper levels and they don't even pay attention to what I'm saying, and I had the answer and they went and searched it on UpToDate and they got to the exact same thing and they didn't even give me credit. That's horrible. You feel horrible, you feel pissed off, to be honest. So what you want is you want to listen to their ideas and really take it into account. You want to foster a collaborative atmosphere. Personal management. So self-care is extremely important. So I want you to sleep well, I want you to eat well and work out. Those are priorities in general, and when you're during nights, it's even more important, because during nights everything becomes even more problematic, right? Everything has the potential to make you feel a little bit worse. For example, you will be in the hospital most of the day, and when you get home you won't be able to share with your significant other because my wife might be working, or X, Y, and Z. You might see the sun out and you might want to, oh, it looks great, I would like to be there. No, it's time to sleep because it's your nighttime. So make sure to adapt and to sleep well, eat well, and work well. By eating well, I mean try to prepare your own food at home. That's the best thing to do. If you cannot do that, buy one of these prepared meals options. That is going to be better than you just eating snacks during the night to get carb crashes and just feel horrible. I do not recommend you taking energy drinks at all, and coffee or caffeine. I would usually recommend against it, but I understand if you drink a little here and there. I personally went through the whole night shift rotation without drinking a single drop of caffeine, without opening a single energy drink. I just ate the food prepared from home, drank water, worked out, and slept real well, or tried to sleep real well. Remember that when you're on night shift, if you are in bed 8 hours, it doesn't mean you're sleeping 8 hours. It means that you're sleeping way less. It might be that you actually slept 6 hours. So make sure that you're in bed enough time to compensate all these potential distractions. People yelling on the street, a little bit of light coming through the shades, etc. You also want to schedule management. So basically you want to manage your schedule pretty well. So initially my first couple of weeks thought I was doing great because I was working out at 5 p.m. and I was receiving sign up at 7 p.m. That was great, but after a couple of weeks I noticed that I didn't have any time to spend with my wife. So then I figured out that in the hospital there were always moments of 15 to 30 minutes or sometimes more where I could do anything I wanted in those time frames. So I decided that I would be working out in the hospital because we have a resident gym, which I am highly grateful for. And I started doing that, and that opened up some time for me to actually share with my wife in the afternoon before going to the hospital. So maximize your time. That's why you have to be efficient and focus. So prioritizing on things is going to be important. Modifiable variables and non-modifiable variables. So what do I mean by this? Anything you can actually modify, any variable you can modify, invest your time into those things, because there you can make a change. But there are variables you cannot modify, so don't spend any time on them. So something I see in my residency program is that my co-residents during night shifts are always looking at the emergency department board, and they can see patients that are from our clinic that could potentially end up being admitted to our service, and they are spending way too much time, effort, energy, and they are extremely anxious because they're looking about what might happen to this patient. Is the emergency physician going to admit the patient? Are they going to send the patient a CT scan? Are they going to send the patient home? Don't waste your time on that. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Waste your time on things that will be more productive. In the end, what did that help you out with in your life, just looking at the ED board? Probably nothing, right? But you could have invested that time actually teaching your first year resident something interesting, or seeing or focusing a patient, or working on some research article, or even relaxing a little. Okay, so yeah, focus on what you can modify, and what you cannot modify, do not. Then timer for challenges and tasks. So this is very important, because if you put a time frame to things, you actually will understand the importance of time. We of course live in a four dimension world, meaning that we have time into the mix. But if we're not checking our time, we just do things and can get on social media, and 20 minutes may have passed and you're not paying attention to what you actually need to do. Put a timer on your watch, on your phone, 30 minutes for this, 5 minutes for that, and use time wisely. Okay, now leadership and delegation. So delegate to build trust. So this is extremely important, because you have to learn how to delegate tasks, because you're not a one-man team, meaning that you cannot do absolutely everything. In medicine, you are part of a greater team, so learn how to delegate. Start delegating small tasks. Even use the students, delegate tasks to them. Not only send them to do the history and physical examination. No, tell the student, hey, this is your learning experience. You will do the history and physical examination, but I also want an assessment and plan. And if you have time, I also want you to put in some orders that you would order for this patient, and I will go through them with you. So that's how you learn how to delegate some tasks. And for your co-resident, you also should delegate some small tasks. Initially, you don't know how proficient they are, or if you can even trust them with what they're doing, because patients' lives are here at stake. So you will delegate small tasks, and you'll see how they manage these tasks. And if they manage it correctly, you will give them a larger task, and that's how they will become proficient at it. If they aren't able to manage these small tasks, you have to rewind, and you have to go and show them. You have to be the leader. So remember, trust is not unilateral. It's not just that the upper level has to trust the intern. No, the intern and the students have to trust the upper level. So also show them that they can trust you. How can you show them that they can trust you? Well, you have to lead by example. There's no other way. You have to just show them through action and not through your words. Just because you say, hey, I'm the upper level and you have to trust me. No, that's disaster. That's sad, plain sad. Just show them through action. Then engage the whole team. So yeah, I don't want to hear you saying that you're complaining that the students are soft because if you're not helping them to grow. So you cannot start complaining that, oh, these students just do the HMPs, history and physicals, and aren't even thinking about an assessment. Have you asked them to do an assessment? Have you actually stopped and let them tell you about the patient, and then ask them, okay, what's your assessment? No, right? We oftentimes just interrupt them, and we just use our ego and are like, we're going to do this, that, and we're not even giving them a chance to share what their thoughts are, okay? So this is a great quote I have here down below, which says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And when the student is truly ready, the teacher will disappear. This is extremely profound, because it basically means that if you're teaching your student or those below you on the hierarchy adequately, it gets to a point that they won't need you, and you should feel great. You shouldn't feel bad about it. You should feel great that you have taught them well, and that now they are able to do things on their own without your supervision. Okay. So the next one is communication and decision making. Clear, closed loop communication. I would recommend you to have a big chat. If you have students on board, have the students in the chat. Have all the residents in the chat. The attendant probably doesn't have to be in the chat, because they should be trying to rest, and you guys are trying to maintain the boat afloat. So have the whole team in a chat, because that way you can communicate and everyone is in the loop. Also tell your team, hey, please react or answer to any message we send out. That's what I mean by that is, if you tell the students, hey, can you go see this admission? Don't just leave it there. The student should answer back with a thumbs up, should tell you, hey, I'm seeing the patient, because I don't want to know that you just received the message. I want to know that you received the message on your phone, and that you have read it, and that you're going to do something about it. Because if we don't stress this closed loop communication, patients can die. Because if you ask, hey, can you go see this patient, and there's no answer whatsoever, and suddenly you're busy seeing other patients, and the student didn't go see the patient, and the patient got unstable, and all this, it could be a big problem, right? So you actually want to have closed loop communication. I'm not saying that the student is the one responsible to go manage the patient if the patient turned unstable, but if you have closed loop communication, you can know what to prioritize. Because if the student tells you, yeah, I'll go see them soon, but I'm busy right now with this, so that way you'll be like, oh, I have no eyes on this patient right now, I'll have to go see them right now, because I would have liked the student to tell me what they thought about the patient, how they looked initially, were they stable or unstable, but the student will take some time, so I'll go lay eyes on the patient. That only happens when there's this information, which in today's day and age, many people would call excessive communication. Well, excessive communication is what saves the patient. Okay, so 21st century resources. So it's important that you, of course, have an idea, a plan, a differential for everything you see. It is 21st century. You have a phone, you have internet, you have a PDF, you have books, you have everything to have something thought out. You shouldn't be calling the attendant and asking them, what do you want to do about such and such, without having a proposed idea in your brain, right? Even if it's something crazy, for example, you get a patient with X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy. Maybe you've only seen one in your lifetime. You had a couple questions of this in step one, maybe, yeah, step one, and that's it. Don't just stand there, don't just sit there, go look it up, go see if the patient needs anything special right now that they're going to be admitted. Speak to the patient, ask the patient, hey, where are you seen for this thing? What is your usual medication for it? And if you have to ask the attendant something or ask someone about it, you already have a mental framework for it. So we're not in the 1980s where you had to go to the library and take out a book and go through 50 different books to see if you found the chapter on endocrine disorders, adrenoleukodystrophy, blah, blah. So there's no excuse to not have some sort of thing thought out. Only excuse is something that happens stat and that you don't have time to research it, such as in a code-like situation, or a patient that is unstable. Then don't just stay there trying to research stuff. If a patient is unstable and you need answers now, call the attendant, call the ICU doctor, do what you have to do. Ask questions. You have to ask questions. Like, this is your time to ask the questions. When you're an attendant, you could ask questions to your friend who was in residency with you, or look it up. But whenever, this is the moment to ask the questions and to not look bad for asking questions. Anything you want to ask it. Try researching first, try using some logic as well. And if that isn't working, yeah, reach out to the attendant or whichever person you need to get the question answered. If it's clinically relevant and if you need it now, call now. If it's something that can wait till tomorrow, don't wake up someone at 2 a.m. just to ask them about how the nephron physiology works because you wanted to learn. Don't do that because the nephrologist wants to sleep. So wait till tomorrow and ask the nephrology fellow or the nephrologist, right? You get the point. Always ask. A good way of asking is saying, for my learning experience, when, what, how, where, why, whatever you want to ask. And always follow it up with gratitude, showing them you're thankful for them reading the message and replying to your message. Then social interactions and boundaries. So you have to prioritize patient care over socializing. I mean, socializing with your co-workers, co-residents. Yes, you will be in there a whole lot of time. It's important that you socialize, that you make good connections, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is going to be patient care. So don't delegate tasks because you're sharing it, or you're going to have dinner with your co-residents and they're coming over and you get a text from the nurse and you just leave it there for an hour and a half. That's not the idea. You can actually see the text and they're telling you, hey, code sepsis triggered for such patient, and you already know it's something you already knew. You can tell them, got it, thank you. That's it. And you can do whatever you're doing, but you have to prioritize the patient care over socializing. So you also have to master the art of saying no. So the art of saying no is basically something that happens over years to decades. You have to understand that there are things you won't be able to do. Maybe you have to go see a patient. For example, the other day I was walking towards a code blue and the med team wanted to give me a heads up about a patient. So I immediately told them, hey, I'm going to a code blue. Can this wait? Yes? Okay. See you in a while. That's it. You cannot just stand there and listen to this information, a heads up of a minute or a minute and a half, while you have a patient that potentially is dying right now. So you have to learn how to say no to certain things, and that's basically, saying, or others are like, you might be told by someone, hey, would you like to help me out? Put it in a line or a central access for this patient if you have some time. If you're too busy, you're gonna say, yeah, I would love to do it, but not today because I'm way too busy, and yeah, I have to do other things, right? Of course, if it's your patient and you're the one responsible for placing these central lines, you'll have to do it. But if it's not your role, and maybe it's something that people know that you would like to do procedures, and they ask you, well, if you cannot do it because you have other things to do, thank you, but not today. Then remember that life goes on. Your life continues and your family misses you. So once you do the sign out, get out of the communication platform. If you need to turn off the phone, turn off the phone. It is now your time to rest and detach completely, because you'll be back in 12 hours. If you do not detach, you'll burn out real quick. Also, don't chart stock while you're at home. This is the same thing as detach. Yeah, I know there are several interesting cases. For example, an LVAD patient. Wow, what happened with that patient? Or the patient that we tried to not admit that ended up admitted. Well, you're gonna get back to the hospital in 12 hours. You can always check that when you're back. So prioritize time. And what about social anxiety? So remember that you're managing a whole lot of patients that are a whole lot of people. So you're managing, basically, you have all the patients there at night, and you might put in orders and several of these patients for several of these patients. And everyone is opinionated, so everyone will have some sort of opinion about yourself. So you have to know your audience. So you have to know when you actually have to invest some time into paying attention to others' opinions and when you don't. So know your audience. If you've been in residency after some months or a year, you'll know that some person is just plainly toxic. That happens. So you shouldn't you shouldn't make your self-perception depend on someone who is actually fighting their own demons and acting out on you because of their own demons, right? So it's different if someone who is always there giving you constructive feedback and trying to help you out be a better professional and person tells you that you have to improve X or Y. Pay a whole lot of attention to that and work on it, okay? So you have to learn to identify constructive versus all the rest of feedback. The only thing that should stay right here in the brain is the constructive feedback. Anything else should come in through here and go out through there because it's not going to be constructive. So any superficial criticism, backstabbing, all those things, remember this quote: what other people think of you is none of your business at the end of the day. So if someone has something to tell you, they don't like the management for a patient that you saw yesterday, okay, I would expect to know. I would expect you to tell me in person, hey, what were you thinking when you did such and such thing? And that actually to happen. So in this past month, I want to give you a couple of statistics. One is that I didn't reach out to my attendant once in the whole month of night float. Actually, an emergency physician attendant did reach out to my attendant, but it wasn't because we even thought we had to or we needed to. That is because they thought they just wanted to bypass us and reach out to our attendant, but we didn't have to do it. And I feel good about it because, of course, you can do it the risky way, which is you can just try to be a Rambo, or you can actually do things the right way and be, contact them only if necessary. We didn't have to do it, and we didn't feel like we were doing Rambo stuff. We were pretty confident in everything we were doing, so that showed that we actually won the season during the preseason, so that's great. And the other thing is, let's see, that I didn't get any feedback. No one told me in the whole month, told me, hey, I didn't like what you did with such and such patient. It didn't happen once. Or I did get maybe once that someone asked me, or a couple times, hey, why did you do X or Y? And I answered, and that was it. So that's it. It means we probably did things good. And if not, like if people talk, because this happens, that people will talk behind your back and be saying, hey, I didn't like how this person did this X or Y. If I listen to this in the future, it's not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility to not bring up stuff in a timely manner and just talk behind people's back, right? So that's what I mean. Closed loop communication is always key for you and for me. And to wrap up, Code Blue recaps all the aforementioned. You have to be calm like a monk. You have to learn how to delegate tasks since the start. I'll make another video on Code Blue just for how to manage a good Code Blue. But remember these key points. You have to prepare while acting. You have 2 minutes during each cycle, so you have time to prepare while you're actually making some decisions. Prioritize tasks. You have to see what has to happen now, what has to happen later. You have to ensure the environment is adequate, meaning you don't want maybe family members trying to hug the patient while you're giving CPR. You have to ensure a safe environment and that things are actually going to happen the best way. Communicate clearly and ask for the same. That's the place you have to communicate the clearest. And when you're finished, a debrief, meaning go through what happened wrong, what could have been better, and just wrap up. Remember, you shouldn't take everything so seriously in life because you might not get out of it alive. And here you can see that we were running to see a patient. I just thought running was a good idea. I just wanted to remember my days in Costa Rica where you would hear Code Blue and you had to get there in a minute because it was only going to be the nurse, you, and maybe someone else would show up a little bit later. And yeah, that's what happened about some years ago. But here in the States, whenever there's a Code Blue, actually there's an excess of people. So you have to actually learn how to tell people, hey, who's doing this, X, Y, Z, who does not have a task assigned, and whoever raises their hand, they might as well better be out of the room because those rooms get small with more than 20 people in them. So that's it, guys. See you in the next one. Hope this actually did record sound. Give me any feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down, etc. See you in the next one.